We're all about turning a crappy situation into something positive.
$250,000 of credit
I
card debt.
still remember the day when no one turned up.
Throw it in the garbage and start from
I
scratch.
could give myself a chance, so I started something.
I mean, I think that counts as from poop to gold.
Our sponsor for this episode is our 14-day video script challenge.
Yes, we are sponsoring our own show.
Yes, we are. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to From Poop to Gold. I'm Daniel Harmon, Chief Creative Officer at Harmon Brothers, and your host. My guest today is Malinda Gagnon. Welcome on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. So Malinda is the co-founder and CEO of Uprise Partners, which is an investment firm and consultancy. And you were also on the original founding team of the Google ad technology, which is kind of crazy, but pretty awesome because that changed the world. And as well in your career, you've worked with giant companies like Procter & Gamble, General Electric, Volkswagen, and so forth. So anyway, why don't you give our audience a little bit of a background, a little origin story. How did you come to be where you are now?
Yeah, so the story is kind of an unlikely one, and I actually get that question a lot of how did you end up doing what you do? Certainly when people hear about my educational background. So I went to Bates College, a liberal arts college in Maine. I'm from rural Maine, where technology isn't exactly something that people know a lot about. I literally grew up with one TV channel that I watched.
Oh, one.
Very late adopter of the internet.
I had you beat by 3 TV channels out in rural Idaho.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so here we are, right?
Uh-huh.
And so, I literally remember writing out a paper for school when I was in 11th grade. I didn't have a computer at home yet.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward, I go to school, didn't know what I wanted to do, studied English literature, wrote poetry, and found myself when I graduated in 2003, literally the year that AdWords, what was once known as AdWords, was launched, right?
Yeah.
So fortunately for me, I came into an industry that was just ready for growth,
Ready to explode,
and
yeah.
ready to jump into.
Yeah.
And that's how I got started.
Okay.
I very slowly started working my way into different positions where I could start digging into digital marketing, start with, web development work, and really started learning by experience.
Yeah.
So, that's how it got started for me. And then while I really liked what I was doing with digital, I wasn't totally sold that was for me.
Yeah.
And so I always loved international affairs. I loved politics. And I said, I'm going to go to grad school and be a foreign correspondent.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So I
like
stopped.
a foreign news correspondent kind of a thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
live overseas,
Uh-huh.
Be on the ground where all the excitement is happening.
Holding the mic like you are now.
Exactly. Yes. Reporting live from Tel Aviv. That's totally what I wanted.
Yeah.
Totally,
Yeah.
So I went to BU and started a dual degree program with international relations and international communications, and absolutely loved it.
Oh, clarify for our audience, BU.
Oh, yes. Boston University.
Okay, yeah. I figured.
So right in our backyard here.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a pretty meandering path. And that's when, I also get the question of like, wait a minute, you have no education in what you do. It was literally all by experience. And granted, poetry, communications, of course, that has helped me tremendously.
Yeah.
I've heard people like help me reflect on my background literally when they say, oh, poets are the first systems thinkers. Like, oh, really? How convenient. I had no idea, but I guess that helped me. Right. So, I certainly think all of our experiences contribute, right? Because the more we can have a, diverse background and different points of view, the work is always better, right? That's how we like to build our teams. So I think that all applies. But Google happened for me in a really unexpected way. And that's was a bit of a transformative thing that I just didn't see coming.
Okay.
Essentially.
Wow. So when did you start Uprise Partners?
I started Uprise 2 years ago.
Okay. So pretty recent.
Yeah, and it was after 8 years with WPP, a huge holding company. I was with Group M, which is holding company within a holding company. So
Okay.
it's one of those just big behemoth of a company. So WPP is the world's largest media holding company by revenue. Anyone who's been following it, they've been seeing a lot of tumultuous times in the last couple of years, which definitely saw that coming in the industry. And that's part of why I started Uprise, because we definitely need a different model of how we serve clients, one that's more flexible, one that's more results oriented, and really have the ability on one team to help across the board with business growth. So basically I started Uprise to say, look, I want to have the business growth engine under one roof, because when you start having to shop that out to a marketing agency, a tech company, then you have your business consultancy, your Accentures, your McKinseys, what have you, so much gets lost in translation. And as much as you try to share among those organizations and pull it all together, it ends up being inefficient and ineffectual. So essentially what we build at Uprise is we have the expertise to do anything around go-to-market. So marketing, advertising, communications, branding, that. Anything around technology. So we have technologists in our group. I founded the company with my husband, Malinda Gagnon. He has a career in technology, was early days at VMware through their IPO, built the data architecture for companies like JP Morgan Chase.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So we can do all of that.
Yeah.
From recommending technology to implementing it, making sure data is secure and used in the right way.
Yeah.
And we can develop anything. We have a team of developers,
Yeah.
right? So we can do all of that. So it's literally like whatever we need to do to help with growth, we can do it, and we can be surgical in how we do it.
Yeah. Very cool. So you could really, like you said, have that efficient and effective impact right there where you need to.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little about, you'd mentioned to me before a little bit about your model, which is where you both do investment, and then also you're doing the consulting, as well as like you pull in all these other, it sounds like different areas of the business where marketing's needed, branding, whatever it is. Can you go into that a little bit? Because I don't think that's that common out there, right? What you're doing as far as the investment side goes.
Yeah, it is. It is a very different model, and one that we're really excited about. So we are a consulting firm, and we're also an investment firm. And why we developed this model is because, one, a core mission to Uprise is to help nurture and find innovation in unlikely places.
Okay. Yeah.
So a lot of times that means underrepresented founders and companies. So whether that be women founders, minority founders, people who are from rural areas, coming from a rural area myself, I have seen firsthand like so many great ideas that will not gain traction because people just don't have the tools that they need to succeed and that support that they need. Because, I mean, anyone who's tried it, starting a business, being an entrepreneur is like, to say it's hard is not even describing it. It is like punishing work.
Yeah.
It really is. And it's emotionally challenging. It is financially challenging. It tries you on every level that you can be tried on. And you have to have support. You have to have support from just a functional and how to do it standpoint.
Yeah.
But you also have to have like a community around you.
Yeah.
And so that's something that's really important to us. So serving and helping those underserved founders, and also being able to have the flexibility to say, hey, we believe in you, and it's okay that you can't pay us right now. We're gonna be in it with you. And we're not gonna be in it with you only in the way of writing you a check. And that's a powerful endorsement. I'm not gonna give the VCs or the angels like a knock. That's great. But we're going to say, we're going to put our team's time on this. We're going to put our time on this, and we're going to help you grow. What do you need first?
That's right.
And then we're going to move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And so our portfolio companies, we work with them in a variety of ways. We have some that they're essentially CTO and research and development arm. We have some that we're their entire sales and marketing team.
Oh, wow.
And we have varying levels of help. We can be strategic advisors, on a monthly, weekly basis. we can be in there literally responding to sales inquiries and launching ads. So it's really however the client needs us.
Yeah.
And that's the flexibility that I was mentioning before, that we show up in the way that best serves the client.
Yeah.
If it means we pop in once in a while and offer some strategic advice and pop out, cool.
Yeah.
If you need us to roll up our sleeves and be in it with you every day and have a company email, we will.
Uh-huh.
If it means we train your in-house team, we'll do that too. Can you imagine an agency being like, I'll train you how to run ads. No way. That's eating their lunch, you know,
Yeah.
and that's, we really are focused on just helping. And we've had some criticism of like, well, but doesn't that work you out of a job? Nope.
No.
If they're successful,
You're going to be just fine.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's actually a fantastic model, and one that aligns incentives actually with the client that you're trying to help out, and I love your mission to basically serve the underserved, right? To go out and help people that are maybe not your stereotypical entrepreneur, but give them the support and the network and everything that they need to be able to succeed. I think that's fantastic. So let me ask now, in your career or life, what was your from poop to gold moment? When have you had a crappy situation that turned into something positive?
Yeah. So I love this question, first of all. And I'm going to have my mom watch this because my mom is the queen of poop jokes, and she's just going to delight in this. So
I would fit right in your family.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's good times. So my poop to gold moment is actually what led me to Google. So I told the bit about like, wasn't really sure this whole like digital stuff was for me. Went to grad school. So I'm in this great program. I've gone like over to the Middle East to do like research for my thesis, because that's my area of study. Like I'm into it, so into it. And spring rolls around. I've been in school full time for a year, loving it. However, realizing I'm going into ridiculous debt because Boston University is very expensive. I had no job because I was going to school full time. I couldn't handle a job. And I had that moment of, okay, this maybe isn't such a great idea, coupled with the realization that the market for foreign correspondence wasn't exactly strong.
Oh, okay.
So I kind of realized on a couple fronts of, oh, darn, I love what I'm studying and it's fascinating and exhilarating, but I'm going horribly into debt. And I actually don't know how great my job prospects are going to be when I get out of here.
You just started looking at the raw numbers of what you were getting yourself into.
Yeah. So I said, all right, I think I'm going to keep doing this because I love this. I'm not going to jump ship, but I think I need to go get a job, finish part-time, like get a little practical here. So I was kind of adrift, kind of disappointed at realizing all of this.
Yeah, it's your dream, right? And you're like, am I giving up on this?
And honestly feeling like I was kind of like a cop-out. Like I was going less all in on the thing that I really wanted to do.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a tough realization. So I'm like, okay, great. I'll go find a job. And so I applied to Google. Not thinking that was going to go anywhere. I mean, I had some, of course, relevant experience and everything, but couldn't believe the day that I got the call. I literally cried, like not even kidding, that I got the job. And, they were in startup space next to HubSpot, actually, over at 1 Broadway, which is in Cambridge, just over near MIT. And we were starting up this ad technology group. It was just, we're elbow to elbow. It was super exciting. And I couldn't believe how much I loved it. That was the first glimpse that I got into what it's like to be an entrepreneur and what it's like to grow something and be a part of this team that is just so smart and so enthusiastic and so capable. And I was just like, oh goodness, I love this. I love the pace. I love the challenge. It's intellectually everything that I was looking for that I didn't have in those jobs that I had before I went to grad school.
Yeah.
And I just was hooked. So, I finished my grad program, and Google's wonderful. They totally supported me in that. And just kept going in that direction. So, it definitely was a turn that I didn't see coming, like at all.
Yeah.
But that's the great thing about, poop to gold, right? Like we sometimes are surprised by what we end up liking.
Yeah. Kind of being in that low of lows kind of opens your mind up to different possibilities and ultimately like to innovation in your own life, right? Innovation in your career. And so, I think that's fantastic. So let me ask about your creative process. I'm assuming you sound like you've got a creative bone in you for certain, that you're a creative and strategic thinker. What is the best way for you to get into the flow of ideas and to have like those creative ideas coming? What do you find is your recipe for getting the best ideas for Malinda?
To create space.
Okay.
Where creativity doesn't happen, and I would guess this might be true for most people, is when, first of all, you insert too much structure. Usually you insert too much structure when you're pressed for time. You're pressed for time when you just have too much going on. And that all is the recipe for a frantic mind. And good stuff doesn't happen when that's your state. So when I'm working on something, a project that has to be really creative or really strategic, like, for example, I was been doing a lot of investor, like, presentation reinventions, like, how do we talk about the company? How do we conceive of the value of the marketplace we're talking about, like setting the stage for, like, what is this thing? And I'm going to use a really cheesy term. What is the essence of this thing? Right? So if I'm going to describe something in the most like simplest terms, like what does that start to be? And it's literally kind of just trying to get to the meaning of what's there.
Yep.
But it can't start in a structured way. It literally has to start with a like, why is this meaningful question? And that can go so many different places. And then you follow it and you're like, no, that's not it. You follow something else and that's not it. Right. And then you kind of build from there. So yeah, I think you just have to give yourself room to wander and know when to ask yourself, that's not it. Keep going. Or I need to reframe the question and literally ask yourself the question in a different way because it helps you think about it differently.
So it's an iterative process. It's not only, like you said, giving yourself that space for your mind to wander and to think of things that way, but actually reframing the question so that it gets your brain just thinking differently. It's basically applying a new lens to your view.
Exactly. Yeah. And another really good thing to do is just get yourself out of your environment. Like literally go take a walk, go someplace that is just different because our physical surroundings contribute to being stuck in certain ways. Yep. So I would love to talk about working style and work qualities, because I think that's super important. But that's something I've realized about myself. If I have to show up to a certain office and sit at a certain desk every day, I feel like a penned animal and I can't, and I don't do my best work. So I need to be able to, work remote if I need to, show up at different offices, work from different places because it helps me stay fresh.
Okay. So let's talk about that. What is your work style? You gave us a little bit of a clue into it right now, but you like to not just work in one place, but what all does that look like for you?
Well, and this was kind of what I realized when I was like, oh, I love this Google thing. Like, what is that about? Yeah. I'm not out talking about, important world social issues. Like, what is this? So essentially, when anyone asks like, oh, how do I navigate my career and pick out the next thing to do? It's like, well, don't think about the job. Don't think about the role. Think about how you like to work and your values, because that might show up for you in an industry you never expected or a role you never expected. Or maybe it's even the same type of work, but just at a different company that has a different philosophy.
Yeah.
So, for me, I realized that flexibility and that trust from the company that I worked with was really important.
Yeah.
If a company doesn't entrust their employees, they're going to treat them like high school students in study hall.
Yeah.
They're never going to let them work remote. They're never going to, be more progressive in some of the benefits they give them. It's not in their culture. So I realized a lot about company culture. That was super important to me. And also in terms of moving fast with people who are enthusiastic and driven and super intelligent. Whenever I found myself in organizations that had like B players, it was so miserable.
Yeah.
And we've all been there. We all know when we look around and we're just like, oh my God. Like, I can't even try my best because then I feel like Johnny wants to shoot me in the back because now he looks bad. And it's not a performance culture.
Yeah, it's not a performance culture.
Or another thing, things move so slow because it's bureaucratic.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's awful.
Right. So once you realize what makes you really excited and what just drags you down, makes you kind of bummed about your work, then you can start being like, okay, I'm going to talk to people who work at these different companies and ask how it is. Right. And you start to discover different opportunities that way.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, we've tried to have a really flexible culture at Harmon Brothers where we kind of let people determine their own hours. But the main requirement is just get your stuff done.
Yeah. and when you have teams that work really well together, you know when people are getting stuff done or they're not.
Yeah.
You know it.
Yep.
It's not a mystery.
Yep.
So, if people are getting lost out there and you don't know what they're doing, well, do they not have the right role? Do you, what is it? It's something so yeah, I'm with you 100%.
Yeah. Where should people look you up? Where should our audience search you out?
Yeah. So we have a website, uprisepartners.com.
Okay.
Brian and I also have a podcast, datamyths.com, which is related to some of our work with Uprise, but it's more of just what we think about the industry and fun stuff that's happening in tech. And you can reach me, Malinda, at uprisepartners.com by email.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. This was fun.
This has been super insightful for me, especially because your model is so different, but I love your approach to stuff. I love your mentality behind making it work for you, starting from a place of core values and cultural fit and that kind of thing. And then the other things can kind of, fall into place. And thank you guys for listening. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast to get some more great stuff coming up, and we'll see you on the next one.
As entrepreneurs and small businesses, we all kind of reach that point where we know we've created something awesome and we want to share it with the world, right? Mm-hmm. And it's that very next step that can oftentimes be really intimidating or really scary, or you just don't know where to go next, right? And the beautiful thing about this 14-day script challenge is you get your hand held from, okay, you have this cool product, now let's go research and find the exact way to present it and message it to the world in a way that resonates and gets people excited and they're ready to swipe their credit card and purchase. And in the 14-day script challenge, you get the opportunity to go through that step by step with our writers who have done it dozens and dozens of times.
You actually watch us go through each of the steps ourselves and create it with a real client, a real product, and it's a real campaign that's out there that's been very successful.
That's right. And the feedback that we've had on this thing has just been phenomenal. I mean, we get comment after comment and emails flowing in from people all over the world who have just raved about the impact that this has had on their business.
People tell us over and over again, it is just a huge value punch for the investment for this 14-day script challenge, and really gave them the tool set they needed to walk through it and make it happen.
And we've had dozens of students who have successfully taken the challenge, written their script, launched their ad campaigns, and driven success for their business. It's pretty amazing.
For more information, go to hbros.co/script.